So my quest for 2000 in Chess960 is complete. I deleted my name. Uh, I quit chess in a fit of despair, which I tend to do about 4 times a year, and I delete the name and then regret it almost instantly. But it's done now, so I had to make a new name, and I was getting close to 2000, and I had to play 2 more games to make it an established non-provisional rating. I did it in some style. The 2 games that I had to play were against a 2100 in Chess960, and I managed to draw that one, and a 2027, and I managed to win that one, and that put me up to 2001 with an established non-provisional rating, which, as you can see, puts me up to 124 in the rank, which I'm really happy about. You have to get top 100 to get a trophy, but I'm pushing for that. So yeah, I was really happy to achieve that. And the next game is the one that I want to show you. I think that's the more interesting game. It's a big ego game. I'm really pushing for this top 100 trophy. It's really important to me to get it. I've had it in the past, but I think it's harder now that the 960 pool seems a bit stronger this year. And the game I'm about to show you it's interesting in terms of the weaknesses of my game, the psychological weaknesses, but also the general chess weaknesses, which perhaps tend to stem from psychology. So I'm going to resize my capture window so you can't see the result of the game, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I got my opponent, who is rated 1968 in Chess960. But I checked his stats, and in Blitz and in longer time controls, he's actually rated more than 2,200. And in long time controls, he's rated, I think it's better than 97.9% of all chess players on lichess in that time control, which makes him pushing for the top 350. I think he was about 369. So, this is a guy who can really play chess. I mean, he's one of the best players on lichess. So I'm intimidated from the start, and it's hugely important to me to win this game because I want this trophy. I really, really want this trophy. So I'm intimidated from the start, and I'm just trying to relax and play my own game. I think that's the most important thing, and just try to play for the center. Just calm, rational moves. Develop my bishop by advancing the pawn. And we're just both playing calmly, trying to win the center at this point. Develop my other bishop. He develops his bishop. Just simple improving moves, and he's the one who really makes the first thrust for the center. So at this point, I decided just to play that move to bolster my center. E castles, and I'm playing this move to perhaps swing the queen up there, although that's easily defended. But I'm just playing developing moves, trying to get the queen onto a stronger diagonal. And there's a potential pin on the knight at this point. And I'm reading Solomon's chess strategy book. So there's a renewed focus on my game and looking for these small things. When you lose chess games, it's if you look at how you lose, it's sometimes really small things, like your opponent just gets a tiny pin, puts a slight bit more pressure on that pin, a slight bit more pressure, and suddenly you're losing a pawn, and your position is bust. And when you think, how did I lose this? You just lost it over such a minor way. So I'm really putting a new emphasis on just trying to cause my opponent tiny problems in the opening that I can exploit and perhaps heighten. So he develops his queen. Maybe that was a passive move. There's a potential for that bishop, if this diagonal opens, to be vulnerable. I'm not sure if I should have played it. I think that was perhaps a passive defensive move. But you're playing these players who intimidate you. You just want to keep it safe sometimes. So he advances his knight. So in this position, I'm beginning to get, I'm intimidated. I'm not really sure what I'm doing at the moment, to be honest. There's this tension in the center. I don't want to dissolve that tension, but I'm playing somewhat without a plan at this moment. I'm not really sure what I should be doing here, to be perfectly honest. During the game, so he exchanges, and he's putting pressure onto this file. So I play this, and I think that this is the first interesting move from a psychological point of view. This is something of a panic move, to be perfectly honest. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I haven't developed a plan. I've looked at this position. I've perhaps taken about 30 seconds on this move. I'm not really sure what to do at this point. And the first mistake I made here was playing this move too quickly. I've looked at other moves for perhaps 20 seconds, and I don't know what to do. I'm beginning to feel panicky. What do I do here? And I just kind of, it's not really a lashing out move. It's more, I have to do something, so I may as well try to get the queen to a stronger diagonal. So I play this. But looking back on it, I realize that I haven't calculated this properly. All I've calculated is that if I take that back, that's fine. But that's a gaping hole in my calculation method, because it's not fine. He plays this. And you know, I know that I should be looking at what he can do after I've recaptured with the knight. I'm well aware I should be doing that, but you just sometimes don't do these things. Without being aware of it, you just leave a gaping hole in your calculation. And I think that's one of the areas that and perhaps you can really improve on. Just to be aware of that you're leaving these gaping holes in your calculations, and to try and avoid it. So for no reason at all, I give him this incursion with his rook on the f file. And I mean, it's not a disaster, but I certainly don't want to be doing this. And I just left this gaping hole in my calculations that allowed him to do this. So I tried to deal with this by moving that there, and he obviously doubles his rooks. And here I should have and gone into this line, which is, it's not great, but it seems fine. I mean, basically fine. But I play that. I played this, which, you know, it's just one of those moves that really make you sigh at your own level of chess skill. I mean, somehow I just blundered a pawn by playing that. I was fine in this position. And again, there was another gaping hole in my calculation. I was not aware that I'm actually losing a pawn. If he had taken that, I'd taken that, my pawn here is falling because I've just moved this defender back. And I mean, again, it's so simple. I mean, you know, this is obvious stuff, but in the heat of the moment, there are just these holes in my calculation, and I think that's one of the areas that I'm really going to have to focus on. I'm just leaving so many holes in my calculations, to some extent because of psychological panic. To be perfectly honest, when I'm playing this guy who is 2,200 in longer time controls, you know, these guys can really play chess, and they're going to exploit your failures. But fortunately, he didn't exploit that failure. He actually blundered here by playing that. Yeah, I played that. Then he played this, which just left his rook hanging. And you know, it's easy to be judgmental about when someone does that, but it's so easy to do. You're aware that your rook is attacked, and then you're distracted by another thought process, and you're thinking about that thought process. Then you reach a conclusion about that thought process, and you completely forget the initial thought process, the blindingly obvious thing that you notice first. So that's a psychological mistake from my opponent. You know, so we lose these games because of just the tiniest things. Just in a second, you can just, you know, give your rook away, and you know, all this effort is ruined. I mean, it's not a lost position here in any way, and you know, we've seen my games before. I can certainly lose this position. He brings his knight in, but really I just want to consolidate this position here. So I take it and then advance that pawn, which gives me that fairly strong central structure and defends my pawns. Then I force the rook exchange. Now I'm winning here, but again I'm aware I'm playing this guy who is 2,200, who's like top 370 in the whole of lichess in these longer time controls, and this is a longer time control game. So I'm intimidated. I'm still panicking at this point, to be perfectly honest, even though I do have a winning position at this stage. So I'm kind of making these. I'm also in time trouble at this point. I'm not hugely in time trouble. I think I've got about a minute left. But when you have that minute, you might have to play a long end game. So you are in effect in time trouble. So I'm not really playing my best game here. The computer is saying I should have moved the knight to there. But I'm psychologically intimidated. I'm just trying to play fairly fast moves that aren't going to lose anything and that seem to improve my position somehow. My goal here is just to exchange off these pieces, but you can see I'm playing fairly aimlessly. And then I do this, which it's not a disaster. But I mean, if you look at this just for an instant, you know I don't want to do this because you can advance this pawn and it hampers my bishop. It just causes me problems. And any child would look at this position and know you don't want to do that because this bishop is so restricted. But in this psychological state where you're panicking, you're in time trouble, you just play moves like that. It just sometimes happens, and that's another area that I really have to focus on. Stop playing these moves that are self-evidently not the best moves. But I did play it. So he, of course, advances that, and I start to panic even more at this point and think, what the hell have I just done? Am I going to lose this? But I see that I can rescue this bishop this way. And I'm trying to calm myself down now and just play basically moves that will improve my position, even though I'm really quite short of time at this point. And then he plays that. So at this point, I don't think he has a threat here, so I play that. And then he plays this. And I realized to my horror that if my rook had been on that square, which was entirely possible, I would have lost the rook, just like that. I just assumed he had no problems. I wasn't, no threats. I was in time trouble. I just played too quickly again. And there was just a gaping hole in my calculations. I just didn't look at his simple threat in this position. And of course my king can escape to there, but if the rook had been there, I would have had to play that, and it would have been checkmate. Just as simple as that. This game entirely wasted just because of an instant where I didn't look at his threat. Just it would have been so horrendous to have lost the game in that way. So thankfully that didn't happen. But that kind of focused my thoughts a bit. I did try to respond resiliently, and get my rook into his position at this point. And he doesn't have a threat here with his bishops, at least. And how is he really going to advance this pawn? So I'm the one who is playing for the win here. Can he draw this, or can I win this? That's the question. And then I realized to my horror, it's so terrible to look at your games and just see there may be throughout an entire 70 move game, there are 5 moves where you just forget to look at his threats, and it can have such a decisive effect on the result of the game, and it's just so stupid. I mean, you're missing things that are so obvious. You just forget to look for them. And I think developing a blunder checking mechanism is the most important thing to me now. At the moment, I'm attempting on every single one of my moves to ask 3 questions. What's my opponent threatening now once he's moved? How can I exploit this? Pins, skewers, etc., strategic things. And once I've decided on the move I want to play, I'm asking myself, what is he threatening now if I play this? So that is my new blunder checking mechanism. And a large part of it is just getting it into muscle memory in the mind, which does take time. But hopefully there's going to be huge improvements in my game when I'm just remembering to check for basic threats on every move. And in a 70 move game, maybe 5 moves in that game, I'll just instinctively forget and I won't check. And sometimes that will give me a losing position in utterly horrendous ways. Uh, but yeah, so he's played this, and I realized I can't defend this pawn, and suddenly he has this counterplay that was entirely unnecessary. With these two bishops coming in, and I really am panicking at this point. I'm thinking, am I going to lose this game? Um, so I decide to go in for the attack because I can't see how he's going to queen this pawn even after he takes that. But that doesn't mean he's not going to queen it. It just means that I can't see how he's going to do it. And all chess players know we've been wrong so many times in the past. These are horrendously stressful situations, but I couldn't see how he was going to queen this pawn, and I was down on time. So I just decided to play my game, and if he's going to win, he's going to win. So yeah, I can defend against this by bringing my king over. Unfortunately, I realized that the way to defend is to bring the king over. He advances there, but I play this. And he can't queen the pawn. Although this is becoming very worrying as a position to look at on the board. But I was correct in my analysis. He can't queen this pawn. So I just play this safety move to be able to get my rook back just in case that's needed. And then he goes to there, which is a blunder because I can take that and then move my king to there and get the pawn. He gets 2 pawns for it, but this f pawn is hugely threatening, and I'm really worried about that. So I'm thrilled at this point, and I can just defend this pawn, and because he plays this, I can just advance this pawn because he can never advance this pawn, or I'm just taking his bishop. So he's completely lost here, and he resigned at this point, which put me up to 2027, which I'm quite thrilled about to be honest. Let's look at my profile page. It's off the. Well, I can move this along. Well, it seems that I can't, but it puts me up to 112th in the Chess960 rankings 2027, and all the guys up there. If you look at their other ratings, virtually all of them are 2,200 in classical time control or blitz time control. So these are really guys to play who can play chess, and I'm really happy to be up there with them. The question is, can I stay? So it's no longer a quest for 2000. It's a quest for seeing what I can do in Chess960. Can I stay up there? Am I going to plummet down? About a month ago, I was established about maybe 1920. But I think I'm playing better now. I'm hopeful that I can maybe stay, if not above 2000, then pushing back up there again and again, and hopefully making some impression. So I'll be making more live commentary videos. If you like, click like, subscribe. That will motivate me to make more videos. Thanks a lot.